in the time we spend together, you will not only hear from me, but you'll hear from 3 amazing panelists that have been using Delightex in their classrooms and the work that they've been doing for many years. And we encourage you to dive in and join us for this. And my name is Rachelle Deann Poleon. I'm an educator, attorney, author, consultant. I've been using this with my students for many, many years, and it is very exciting to see what students can do with it. And so introduction wise, I'm going to dive over and to my right now, Michael, if you would introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Fricano II. I'm a K-6 design and technology teacher in Honolulu, Hawaii. And I've been a Delightex user ever since they weren't an EDU product. They were just co-spaces.
Yes.
But I've been using it for a long time. It's a great product. My students absolutely love it. I'm excited to share with you guys today.
Yeah, well, I am glad to have you here to share with us. And Jaime.
All right. Hi, everyone. Jaime Donally. Love immersive technology. Got connected to CoSpaces at the time, a while back. Been able to chat with them and see kind of how they went from virtual reality creation to augmented reality creation, and now combo of both. It's been a cool journey.
It has definitely been a cool journey to see everything. I know from the time when I started, the first project I did, boy, it took me forever. I am not ashamed to say that. So glad to have you here, Jaime and Deann.
Hi, I'm Deann Poleon. I am a technology integrator who started in the high school English classroom. And that's actually where I brought Delightex into for the very first time. But now as a technology integrator, I use it throughout my school district with a whole bunch of different subject areas and grade levels, and we just have a blast.
Yay. Well, I'm glad to have you here as well, Deann. And for anybody joining in, here's the first question for you, just to get a feel for where you are when it comes to augmented or virtual reality or AI. Are you curious? Are you testing it out? Are you using it weekly, or are you all in? So feel free from wherever you are watching from to go ahead and type in the comments and share with us, just so we can get kind of a take on what your experience is with these different technologies. I know there's a lot happening in the world with technology, so let us know if you are just curious. And we got somebody joining. All right, London, welcome. Love having people join in. It's for Michael, I know it's very early in the morning. And so joining in from London, we're glad to have you. So where are you with the AR, VR, and AI? And oh, that's great. Great to hear students are excited. We are excited for it as well. And so we are going to be talking about the Spring Challenge. And if you are not aware of what the Spring Challenge is, you're going to find out about it here. There's an opportunity to win some exciting prizes. You are going to see how you can help your students take what they're learning and create these really interactive and engaging projects, which you'll see some examples during our time here today. And it's just great to share the ideas with others around the world. And so you'll have time to ask questions. The links for where you can learn more about it, about the prizes, about the challenge, about the AI features, all of that will be shared with you so that you have ideas, you have the steps to get started, and everything that you need to confidently participate and hopefully win this challenge. But first, before that, I want to ask the big question, and I'm going to go to Jaime for this. So for anybody that is not familiar with Delightex, how would you explain what Delightex is and what it offers?
Yeah, so it offers a creation platform for our students. If you think about Roblox and how appealing that is for our students, even my adult kids sometimes, wanting to play Roblox. And it's just, I think it's ingrained in us. We want to create, we want to build, we want to design, and having kind of these opportunities to enhance our learning with that and being able to demonstrate our knowledge in a way that's kind of outside the box, right? So we get to make augmented reality scenes, so we could see kind of a digital overlay with that, and then virtual reality scenes of building completely 360 digital, enhancements, if you will, and bringing people to a new experience through virtual reality. So I think that it offers both, which is fantastic. But one of the best parts about Delightex is that it is cross-platform. And that is a huge appeal, especially after COVID, when everybody got rid of iPads and now taking away phones. So being able to leverage, the Chromebooks and PCs and, MacBooks and all of the above, plus being able to use tablets and phones and to be able to go and see your experiences in headsets, it just makes it easy and convenient for people to jump in.
Yeah, that's one thing about it, that you can use it across all of those devices. And I remember with my students, not in my STEAM course, but in my Spanish class, speaking of challenges, they challenged me whenever the option was available to have students be able to collaborate. And that was like a game changer. It was at the end of the school year around this time. And the students, and I've told the story so many times, probably you've heard it too, where they're like, why don't we get to do the cool AR, VR stuff? And I just stood there with this blank face, like, because you're learning Spanish, and I didn't see the correlation, but that was the time that I put them together in the groups, and like what a difference that made for them, for the engagement, for retaining the content. And it was taking a risk, but I think I've long said that this time of the school year is a perfect time to try something different, to take those risks and to dive in. So thank you for sharing that. And my next question for anybody that would like to answer this, and that goes for people joining in too. We have people joining in, and I see comments coming in as well. So when we're thinking about augmented virtual reality experiences, a lot of times people look at it like, oh, that's great, it's cool, it's neat, but you can go beyond that, and you can support deeper engagement than you can with maybe traditional review activities. I know, like I just mentioned in my experience, but what about your experiences? Anything that you could share, Deann or Michael?
Yeah, I was just thinking, so we just had a class at the high school doing some work with medieval castles. They were building these huge medieval scenes with the castle and the churches and the peasants and all this stuff, but they were learning about it as they were doing it. And then they had to like share it with their classmates, and they were getting like feedback on their scenes. So they were taking in information, figuring out how to like show it, and then teaching it to their classmates. Like they're talking about that information over and over and over again. And it's not like copying and pasting and like copying notes and doing that. Like they are engaging so many times in the information. It's kind of sneaky. I love it.
And yeah, it is kind of sneaky. Michael, anything else that you can share?
For me, and I think for many other users, it's the ultimate creativity tool. I mean, to be able to take what you're learning and display it in a three-dimensional environment. And I mean, for my students, it's a lot of the showing what you're learning comes through the dialogue. It comes through the scene that they have to create for others. As you all said, it's using it to teach others, I think, is the best way to use it. That's how I use it personally. The things that my students create, there's always a much bigger audience beyond themselves and their classmates and their teacher. We share it with our community, and it's a great creativity tool, and it's a great way to teach other people too.
It definitely is, especially I think for the educator that's using it, and to learn from students and get some ideas, which again, like when I started, I've been using it with my STEAM students, but then with the language classes, they didn't have that base understanding like that my STEAM students had. So asking me questions, and sometimes I didn't know the answer. I'm like, yeah, there's a good answer for that. And then when they would figure it out, I just peek over their shoulder and learn from them. But it's a really good opportunity to do some things together where you're learning together, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Next question for you. So AI is everywhere. And I don't want to do any spoilers now, because we'll be talking about the AI features here in a little bit. But do any of you have an example of how AI can make it more engaging, more interactive in using Delightex, especially now that we're thinking about like, shouldn't we bring AI in? And now all of these emerging technologies. So any examples you can share? Jaime, I see you shaking your head.
It's so funny. About, I don't know, 2 years ago, I started meeting with, at the time, CoSpace's team, and talking through like where AI should be implemented when it comes into the classroom, because of course there's a lot of privacy concerns. I work for a company that does, identity and access management and cybersecurity and privacy. All of those things are really important and need to be balanced. I know Deann's in New York, and there's high standards as far as what can be implemented. So when you're talking about AI and bringing in things, it's delicate when it comes to students, right? So how do you pursue, and I know that was top of mind for their team, how do we pursue a way to bring in AI that allows the students to thrive, the teachers to thrive, for the product to be fully leveraged, but not requiring information that is going to put the school district or students or teachers, liable for problems. So I think they did a good job. I can't wait for you guys to share some of those things, but I think they did a good job at balancing like productivity and benefits of AI and for students and teachers and administrators. But they also brought in some elements as far as, protecting our students and recognizing dangers. Like those things I think are kind of the forgotten because they're not as, they don't pop, they don't have the wow factor, but they certainly are necessities for our classroom. So yeah, that's my only thoughts on it.
Thanks. Michael or Deann, anything to add about the AI component?
So I've used it when I've created spaces that I'm like using with classes. I've used the AI buddy, which I'm sure we'll talk about more, but I haven't had my students use it yet. They have used some of the other like environment backgrounds, things like that, where they build them. But I haven't quite figured that one out yet. But they're super awesome when they're in the scene that I've built, and they're like asking it questions and learning about things. So I like that. It's cool.
I think it definitely is cool. Michael, were you going to add something?
I was going to say I'm in the same boat as Deanna. I haven't fully explored the AI buddy feature yet.
Mhm.
I'm excited to use it. I think it's a great feature. I know they've done a lot of work on it.
Mhm.
We've utilized the Skybox feature quite a bit to create really unique backgrounds for student projects. So that's been in Delightex for a little while, and it's an awesome feature. I've done things like incorporating like AI generated background music, AI generated 3D models. These things aren't a part of Delightex internally, but there are other great options to incorporate AI into Delightex projects.
Hey,
Yeah,
that's
my
all.
students have used other AI products to come up with like storylines for games and things like that, which is super helpful when they need to just generate some ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love having that thought partner and I was just speaking with somebody right before we went live here about how sometimes, I'll go in and I'll ask for like, what should I write about just to get a topic because I'm like trying to think of something or what's something I should study or what's something I should research because there's so many things out there and it's just nice to have that other partner and assistant to, bounce ideas off of, but then use your own ideas to like boost that creativity. So we are going to talk about this spring challenge, and there is a link there. I'll be sure to drop it in the comments, and you can go to the website to learn more. But the challenge is already in progress, but you still have time. It has to be submitted. There's a countdown on the website. It has to be submitted by May 15th, and so it's a global classroom challenge. So students can take lessons that they're learning in the classroom and create games, animations, these immersive worlds using Delightex. And so really it's quite simple. So you pick whatever your topic is, and then you have the platform Delightex to use to build anything that you want. I've had students create virtual worlds and a lot of parkour games and some interactive stories. And then you're going to share your project and show what you've learned and how this has helped you to kind of boost that learning. And so you do have, I think, around 13 days left, and then the winners will be announced on June 1st. And if you're asking and wondering, like, is this something for younger students? It is. So students in grades 2 all the way up through 12th grade, any subject area. It can be an individual student, groups of students, whether in school or homeschool. It's open to everybody. So that is some information about what the challenge is, who can be involved, and how much time you have left to dive into it. So now I think it's important that we think about, what does this look like? And how do we get started? And if you're new to Delightex, you might not be actually sure what it even looks like. But one question that I will pose here is that, especially if you're thinking, this sounds great, I don't know where to begin, do what I did when I started using it, when I had that collaborative feature. In Spanish, it was very difficult for students to remember how to narrate in the past tense. It was something they struggled with every year. And the following year, I'd have to reteach it. So this question, think about something that your students have learned this year, and they really need this extra boost in review. That might just be the thing that would be perfect for doing and using for this challenge. So that is your reflective question, your little mini homework assignment right there. And now I think it's probably a perfect time to take a look at what Delightex is and what it does. So who would like to go first?
Are we showing examples?
Sure.
Yeah.
You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I can share one example. I think might be a good opportunity. So one project that I do with my fifth graders, it's part of a year-long project that involves these, what are called the climate action superheroes. You guys ever heard of these? They're part of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. So they are kid-friendly superheroes that help to introduce these goals and how we can help solve the world's problems. So students work in teams focusing on one superhero, and it's a big year-long project. But one part of the project is to develop a Delightex diorama where the students are, the goal here is to demonstrate a problem the world faces and share facts and tips related to that problem. And how we can solve that problem. So this is my teacher example that I show the students, but it's using the diorama scene, the multi-diorama space, and that's pre-made in Delightex, and the student uses one section of that diorama to develop a scene that shows a problem, and then they learn to do a little bit of coding to share facts and tips. So in the end, they develop the scene. They learn how to animate and make things move, and in this case, it's like, if you're gonna have a window, make sure there's things happening outside the window too, and then keys on the keyboard activate facts that they gain from their research that relate to their problem, and then tips that their audience can use to help solve that world's problem. And then it's a team project, so there's a key that takes into the next scene that another student has developed to do the same thing. And then through this particular project, there's up to four different scenes that that the team's developing. This is one way we use it. And actually, the next step beyond this is they learn how to create a game controller out of a makey circuit board, and then they use that to activate the facts, the tips, and the ability to move on to the next scene. So rather than using the keyboard, there's this whole giant game controller on the table that's controlling the scenes as well.
And I think it's amazing just listening to you speak. It's always great to hear how other people are using it, or you get new ideas, like, oh, you said makey, like, where did that come into it? And it's, for me, in the course that I was teaching, AR, VR, AI are just parts of like the whole year program. But I've found over the years CoSpace is now Delightex, but I've had some students that were hesitant to get started because it looked like when they see the actual examples that you can see on the site, like, wow, how did anybody do that with all the coding and the animations and everything? And I've had some students who were so afraid of it at first. Then I go into the account and I see that like they spent their weekend creating all of these different parkour games, and they've gone above and beyond what I have been creating on my own. But it's so neat to see that. And I've had students who push back against it that then were so invested in it and interested in coding that then they went on to kind of pursue this career and like learning to code and learning to do all of these things with technology. So it's super cool to see that as well. So thank you for sharing. And Deann, you had shared something amazing, which is a student interview. So I didn't know, and I wanted to check. Would you want me to show some of the interview now, or would you like to share some of your projects?
That's fine. That's fine. You
Which
can
one?
share. You can start the interview.
Okay, I was just making sure. So I'm going to put it on the stage, and I'm going to just skip through a couple of the components of it, and then we'll see if we can share this after as well. Because hearing from students, that's one thing in some of the work that I'm doing this year in working with different school districts across the country, and getting a chance to have conversations with students about screen time, purposeful technology use, emerging technologies, the use of AI. They want to do things that are hands-on and creative, and that they can collaborate and talk to one another. That's been a common theme across in the last couple of weeks that I've heard from students of varying age levels, starting at the third grade all the way up to seniors. And so they're asking for these types of opportunities, which means this is the perfect opportunity to present to students at this time. So let me pull up these students here.
How a medieval village would work, and also to help teach other people. We used links and notes that our teacher gave us to learn and to build the village in the most realistic and historically accurate way.
And I'm going to pause there. And Deann, could you, what was the task that they had to do?
So they were given a number of elements, let's say. So they had to create the castle. They were basically putting together all the pieces of what a medieval manor would look like. And honestly, the teacher was like, here, see, look at the social studies book. This is kind of what I want you to do, but in 3D. And they divided the information between their group mates and used different scenes. And a lot of them have these entryways where you walk down a path and you can it'll go through a door and you go to the cathedral, or you go to the castle, or you go to where the peasants would have been farming, and it's just so neat. They learned little bits of code while they were doing it, and learned how to pull in 3D objects, and learned to build things like their castles. They were building from building blocks, and it was just so interesting. And a lot of them, it was new to them. Some of them had done it with me, but in 4th grade, they're 9th graders doing this project. And they were like, we remember, but not really. So putting this to them, it was really fun. And the energy in the room was great. I actually rearranged one of my days that I wasn't supposed to be going to the class just so I could go to the class because I just wanted to be a part of it. And they would stop me in the hall and be like, hey, so I'm trying to do this. How do you do it? I'm like, oh, I'll be there. I'll stop in later. I'll show you. So it was a really nice way to have them bring it to life. And the girls that were interviewed, they were so happy to be a part of it. They were like, we were really reluctant because we remembered that it was hard when we did it in 4th grade, but now it's amazing. And it was so cool. And the one girl, she's like, I did this for over 20 hours, I think. She's like, I went home. My dad was helping me. He was teaching me stuff. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. It was awesome interviewing them. I'm like, they had such great advice for teachers. I'm like, yes.
Yes. And I've watched it several times. And so I wanted to give some context around what they actually had to do, because I'm going to skip through just a couple key messages that they share, because I think it's really insightful when you hear from students about the impact, about why they like it, about the difference that it made. So hopefully I will get to the right parts here. There we go.
You're focused. And it's just a whole different experience than reading about it, because that's bothersome, that's troublesome. This is fun. It's actually a fun experience.
We didn't just learn about global history or medieval times. It also kind of taught a little bit of patience, because it is a lot of work trying to build it, trying to get it right. The code block, post-space blocks not always being there. And it also kind of taught how to work together, because when you couldn't find something, you go to somebody else. They'd be like, oh yeah, I have that there, or I found this here, or search that, or
yes, that
I
really
saw
helpful.
that there, and this article. So,
but I'd say my biggest difficulty was the coding. That took me most of my project. My part was pretty simple. I was making a watermill, a few houses, right? Went a little above and beyond, but I'm just an overachiever. But it was fine. The coding was the only hard part, and honestly, you just have to have a lot of patience. It took me 20 plus hours, but it took a lot of patience. I didn't even want to code at first, but it was so fun. I didn't think I'd like it.
There's like a lot of things that we learned from this, and one of them was like just like being patient and kind of just like going with like the flow on things, because like it took like a lot of like step by step stuff that took like a lot of time and like a ton of like little steps, but like it's like still like really important to just like be careful and like take your time on things, because then it'll turn out better in the end. And yeah.
They were
Teach
hilarious.
you while you do it. Like, we're gonna have a couple days where it's mostly just learning like the aspects of Delightex, like how are we doing it, how this works, how do you build to begin with. Like, I'd say for teachers, if you don't have someone there to really help and knows the ropes before you assign the project, our teacher was fine because we had Miss Poleon, but like before you assign the project, do a little research on your own, know the basics. You do not have to go into specifics. I went very into specifics. I did a lot of research on my own to figure out, hey, if I click this person, I want to click them again and be able to have them say something else, like that kind of thing, which was more advanced. I just say, if you're a teacher, you need to learn the basics first, because that's what we all had to do, and that makes it easier for your students to be able to come to you and be like, hey, I need help with this, this isn't working. Also,
If you're gonna
Oh.
assign this, then maybe you should try it too.
yes,
And
like
you
make
could
an example
recommend
one.
Yeah, and then you could be like, okay, this was kind of difficult, but I used Google, and the specific link or the specific video helped me.
And one last part. Here we go.
I love creative projects. They're my favorite thing. I have so many ideas in my head and I just want to get them out. And instead of writing an essay, making a slideshow, it's so much better. It's just so much fun.
Because like when you do it on like Delightex, you get to like see like your ideas like
Come to life.
come to life, and it's like all in front of you, instead of like she said, like writing like an essay or like doing something like that. It's like really cool because like it's like all in front of you, and you get to like be in like the world that you created. You're not in a smelly textbook looking at stuff. You're
Yes.
actually using a Chromebook. You're inside of it. Like you can't go in. Last I checked, you couldn't go inside a textbook and look at the pictures.
That
But
is
you can
true.
go inside.
Don't need a magnifying
Delightex
glass to zoom in.
and coding and see all the little details. And you can even add those little details. So now you know, and that's what you look for. Even when you have to use a textbook, you know what to look for.
Yeah, I love that Delightex has the option of Coblox, Python, and then there was like one other, and then it was like whatever, like there was an option, I think it said like other or something, and then you could add more. Because what if someone's on a higher, like an even higher level, they don't want to use Lego blocks? And not me, I like my Lego blocks, but some people, like, they're not restricted because they know more.
Oop, there we go. And I love the like the smelly textbook comment. You can't immerse yourself in, like, you know, put it over your face, but I don't know if that's gonna be the same kind of experience. So that was great. It was so great watching them and hearing from them and just their advice about, like, you know, teachers, you need to do this too. Like,
Yeah,
you dive in.
I
like,
loved
don't just tell
it.
us.
I want to show that to every teacher I work with, because I want them to be, they know, the kids know, like, did you do this assignment? You didn't? You didn't even try? Like, they want you to like have those same failures that they have, so that you're ready to help them. And they were also really funny too, because they said, you don't have to know more than us. We can learn it together. It's okay. And I do that with a lot. And I couldn't answer all of their questions. In fact, I reached out to Michael a few times for some help. But yeah, they were amazing.
Yeah, they definitely were. And some of the comments coming in and going back to Michael, and comment, you know, yes, the Makey was Delightex just yesterday made a human circle to launch a rocket into space.
That's
That
awesome.
is awesome. Yeah. So thankful for everybody joining in. We have, you know, elementary teachers, we have some tech coaches joining in. So Jaime, I'm going to come over to you because we've seen some from Michael, and we'll come back to Deann for some examples also, but I wanted to highlight the student voice and some ideas from them. But I would love for you to share with us as well.
Okay, first off, I'm going to go back to the students putting the emphasis for the teachers. I was invited to a classroom. I think this was literally the best PD training I could have ever done. I was invited to come and do training for the students, but the teachers were required to be there. So no student had ever touched Delightex, you know, CoSpaces at the time. And I had to go to each class. They all had different objectives that the teacher set up that they had to accomplish. And that was so crazy because every classroom, the teacher was mad that they had to be there. Like, they're like, what am I even doing here? Like, why do I have to be here for this PD? You take the kids. I got a million things on my plate that I need to do right now. Every single one of those teachers got to see what those kids were doing, the enthusiasm that they were excited to do, the outcome of what they actually created. And every one of them, by the end of the day, because we came back for PD just for the teachers, and everybody was bought in just from watching how excited their students were. So I think if it was me recommending to you bringing something like this to your teachers, bring it before the students so the teachers can actually see. I think those kids are perfect examples of that. I wanted to share this one because this is actually from 2017 that I made with you. I know Michael Fricano was there. I know Rachelle was there. We actually were there at the same time. There's some folks here that are friends that were here. Mandy Freilich right there. And then we have Dr. Mary Alice Curran. We have a couple people. I think that Sarah's back there somewhere. There's Curran, her son. So several people that we're all connected to. We're there live. I did a session on immersive tech, and I actually had up there CoSpaces. I just put it up there, but I got to take a 360 picture back in the day, it's frame by frame, and then pull that into, at the time, CoSpaces, and then bring that in. And now all I have to do is just say, auditorium or convention center with chairs. And I can type in what I want as my background. But how cool is that we have those capabilities, plus all the later technologies that we can say, okay, now I'm going to give this experience, and then it's going to give this illusion.
As
that
Captain America said,
has my
it's
audio
tempting to
built
wanna-
in from my presentation, which is cool. The other thing I was going to show, and I think this one is pretty cool, because this started with an ideation that I came to do PD for Deann School. So I was working with them, and Deann was like, I have this crazy idea. I want to do the periodic table, but I want it to be like totally something that is like interactive and engaging. And what's super cool about this is this idea is now part of their templates, because each one of these elements then link off to a new space that then is designed and built for each individual student. So it was collective as a class to come together and demonstrate their knowledge of the periodic table, and every single one was unique, and every student owned their piece. So what a cool project Deann put together for her school district at the time. And what a cool thing that we can reflect on now, as you being the teacher at the time, now being instructional technologist in the district, doing some awesome stuff with Delightex. So anyways, just wanted to share those two things.
Yeah, that was so wild doing that. I mean, Mike Dresick and I both went over. We were working with all of her classes. That it was a 6th grade science class, and they loved it. They were recording their audio about like teaching it, and the kids, when they were all done, they went and scanned all the QR codes to all the different ones that they had done. It was amazing. Like they were so excited. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you did such a nice job." They were complimenting each other. I was like, "Yeah, fabulous, fabulous."
Really cool.
Yeah, I remember that ISTE and you creating that, and just everybody in the background. And that's was what, 2017, right? So
Yeah.
9 years ago, that the capabilities and just all of the new features and functionalities now. I know with my own students too, or anytime we would log in, it's like, oh, wait, that's different. The different animations. And of course, I always have a cat in one of mine, and it's just one of my favorite things to put into it. But then now with the AI features and AI buddies, it's been just so neat to create with. And it's just like that wow factor. It just keeps getting better and better. And so now, oh goodness. One of my favorite things years ago, I had students that would say, the floor is lava. I'm like, what are you talking about? The floor is lava. Well, perfect timing. Michael is going to share the floor is lava project.
Yeah, this is a project I do in 4th grade. I think it's also be a great opportunity for kids to kind of flex their coding muscle and design something cool for the spring challenge. But I do this as a 4th grade project to introduce, or not to introduce, but to explore different ways to code games. And I base it off of the Netflix series Floor is Lava. So I show a clip of that, and the kids enjoy that. It really gets them engaged in the project. So they create, it's basically parkour. It's like an obstacle course, right? But the idea is to mimic the Floor is Lava game show. Um, and we start from scratch by building it up from an empty space into a full obstacle course with where's my this one uh, with a lives counter that's using variables and tracking where the student's going. Let me fix this. Realize it has some edits. So this is like my version of my Floor is Lava game. So the students, they have to like pick a theme, decide, in their themed world, whether it's like Candyland or a science lab or a volcano, what their lava is going to be. Some love to do like um, under the ocean themed or like a pirate theme, because there's so many different objects in the library can that can be used for different theme games. And then there's also, of course, the 3D models library, which expands their access to objects like exponentially. There's tens of thousands of 3D objects in the built-in 3D models library as well. Yeah, so they learn how to create moving obstacles and um, moving pathways. Like you see different examples here, back and forth, spinning cylinders, obstacles that cross your path. So they have to design 3 different moving obstacles or moving platforms that are built into their course along the way, and then you have to decide what happens when you get to the end. Do you take them to a level 2 where they can then build out another obstacle course with a different theme, or does it take them to a scene where there's a big party waiting for them, or does a pop-up message appear? So they get some uh, they have some choice that involved where they can decide what happens. That's a really good opportunity to demonstrate some coding abilities. There is, in terms of the spring challenge, there is a pre-made parkour game option that students could definitely start from if starting from scratch is a little too overwhelming. There's the parkour game template here that I believe has some of the coding built in already. And then you could definitely think, yeah, it does. So a lot of the coding is built in, so you could definitely turn this into a completely different theme space. Maybe it's maybe they're escaping a scene from a book that they read, or they're escaping a scene from that's related to science or something. Um, yeah, I think the Parker game is a really good option for, especially for a spring challenge that we're working on right now.
It is a very popular one among my
Yeah.
students every year. And usually when I dive into this, I first have them just look at what others have created and just to get ideas and see,
Mhm.
the coding and everything behind it. So it's a lot of fun for them to check it out. All right. Did you want to show
Yeah.
anything else, Michael?
Oh no, I was trying to look at. Oh, here we go. It's 4th grade project. I was trying to see. I mean, you can just see across my screen here all the different themes. A lot of Candylands, a lot of jungle themed, underwater themed, um, a lot of space themes sometimes too. Oh,
Yeah.
and this one's pretty cool here. This guy's trying to recreate uh, Donkey Kong
Uh,
as his obstacle
Good
course.
choice.
He found this was an object in the 3D models library, so he's using this as his base, as like the main. Zoom out, yeah, as like the main platform, and then he's building his obstacles along the way. So it's pretty cool, kind of a
Yeah.
retro Donkey Kong thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very nostalgic for me. I remember waiting in line and putting the quarter down to wait to play the game. So that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
And Deann, I'm going to come back to you to share a little bit, and then we'll go to Jaime, and then we'll be wrapping up.
Yeah, so one of the things, a big project that we do at our school is the Longhouse Project, where our school district is right near the Seneca Nation of Indians. So there's a huge history unit in 4th grade. And when I first started working with them, they had done some work with this project, and it really just, they spent a lot of time building the longhouse, but they knew what the longhouse was. And really what the whole project, the teachers wanted them to learn was what it was like to live there, what it would have been like, the environment would have been like. So I started giving the students a template. So they get this template, and they are they're creating scenes to like show us what it would have been more like. So when you're walking through, there are people talking to each other. There's, you know, people cooking on with the fires that go in the center, and there's just, you know, animals that would have been there. So they do research and then they add all that information in. And I give them this template. They copy the fire, they like copy the text plates, because those go around the scene to teach people. And I do have, it might take a hot second to load. Nope. I know I opened it. Maybe I didn't. Okay, I lied. I have one example. I have an example that I've used with, oh, I think I just clicked the wrong one. That I use with students, like to show them what they can do with it. And it's a little outdated. I probably could go back in and update some of the images now that we can remove backgrounds and things like that. But this is kind of the editing version of it. So you'll have like people that greet you when you enter the scene. There's animals that fly. There's things that I made from seeing them in a book out of the building blocks. So I teach the kids that they can do that if they can't find what they want. I have, you know, people fishing and people cutting trees down, and just what it really would have felt like more. And then you can go inside and walk through and see what would have been laying on the bunks that they had, and, you know, the different family groups that they would have had. And it's just, it's a really interesting project for the kids, because they have empty canvas to fill, and they do it so differently every, and they do it on their own. It's not, this one's actually not a group project, but they end up looking so different, and they have different ideas of things they want to build and how they want to make things. And it's such a neat experience. And this is really one of their first times that they would be using Delightex in their class.
Wow. Just seeing like in the amount of time that it takes, but it's just so neat to see what they come up with, and having all those options is awesome as well. So thank you for sharing those ideas. And Jaime, oh, I just took Jaime out. You're back. Turning over to you. Sorry about that. Here we go.
No worries. I'm going to show just real quickly 2 features, one being the AI buddy. Really quick and easy to make, simple. One of the ways that I use the AI buddy is I brought in a character, and I basically right click it and I choose AI buddy. You have to turn it on just kind of like you do with code. You give it a description. In my case, I actually gave a description of it to be me, and I was doing it as professional development for teachers to come jump into. And I had it reference my blogs from arvrandedu.com. So the resources that I would typically share already. So I wanted it to mimic kind of how I would deliver some ideas for somebody coming in wanting to use immersive tech. But you could really use it for whatever you want. Of course, historical figures is often used. But I'm just going to say mimic Jaime Donally sharing AR, VR, and EDU. And then I also have you have the different voices that you can choose, pretty easy. Animating the buddy is by default turned on. Obviously, you want to be able to animate. So I don't know why you would turn that off. But interactive distance is nice, because you don't want them to necessarily, and if you have multiple buddies out there, you want to make sure it's in proximity of them being able to come into that area to be able to get that discussion with that buddy, if you will. So if you have multiple people, kind of buddies spread out, you have different interactions that are happening instead of everybody just in general being available, right? So you go to play, you pull up, and there should be some interactions with that buddy. I can come in here and type. I could say, hello, who are you? And, then it should say that it's going to be me.
I'm Jaime Donally.
There we
I
go.
love talking about how augmented and virtual reality can make
Hey,
learning exciting and interactive. What would you like to know about AR or VR in education?
very cool. Okay. One other feature I just want to quickly show now that you guys know how to use an AI buddy is one of my favorite features that are kind of not really known is their content guard. If I start a class, I have students in my class. These are all teachers that do PD. All my classes are all teacher PD pretty much. But if I go into my class, I can go into content guard. And if there's anything that has been designed or possibly flagged as inappropriate, content guard will pick it up. So that could be language, that could be items being used and being pulled in, potential risk of collision of different objects. So I really love that they added this because it's a really easy way for teachers to kind of monitor, just easy way to kind of look right away if there's something that they should be warned about. So those two AI features I think are pretty stinking awesome.
Yeah, I think they are awesome as well. Anything with AI, but that was very neat. Like you doing the demo right there. It didn't sound quite like you, but you could pick a different voice and it got your name right. So that's fun to do. So the kids, when they're using this, and educators, when they're using this, they're getting all of these different technologies in the same space and learning how to use them in safe and ethical and responsible ways, and then boosting creativity and all those things, especially this time of the year too, like engagement, motivation. And you can use it in any classroom content area. That's something I wish I would have known years ago, but luckily the students were like in my face a little bit, like, why can't we? And there's no reason why you can't. So you can do it. And I will say, or I'll ask, the three of you, if teachers are thinking about this now, like what advice would you give to teachers who want their students' projects to really stand out, because this is a spring challenge, and not just to be like those creative, but of course that academic focus? Like any tips that you might offer?
I would say I would tell the students to do the best they can on like having someone like with a thing in mind of you're trying to teach somebody else something, right? So how would you learn it the best way? And let's show it that way. Because they're so creative. I feel like the less we tell them, the less things that we put borders on, the more crazy they end up being, like incredible. So I feel like if they know that the purpose is to try to help somebody else learn something, maybe they'll figure out more creative ways to do it, whatever would grab their attention maybe.
Yeah, I told my students, like, do what you love, do what interests you the most. But I think too, I also tell them like to remember to keep it simple. I mean, Delightex is such a vast. It can be a complex tool if you give them too much leeway, they can get really involved in it, and drop in so many different objects and really build out a scene. But if you keep it simple, yeah. As Dan said, the goal is to teach others something that you learned this year. But yeah.
I would just say when you're leveraging this with students, make it purposeful to use augmented and virtual reality. Because I think most of the time when I talk to schools and they're like, hey, we got this grant, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Why? Why are you going to use augmented and virtual reality? Is that going to help you accomplish your goals? So my recommendation for students using this, do something that's impossible to do otherwise. Really like leverage the technology for its purpose. And I think that's where you really have something quite different than any other product.
Oh, great advice from all of you. I love that. And so now, if you've joined us now, or if you're checking this out later, you still have time. And the Delightex Spring Challenge. So if you go to the site, the link has been shared. You can find out all of the information about how to get involved, how much time you have left to submit, the grade levels, but you can also get the judging rubric so you can see how each of the projects will be evaluated. And then you can find out about the different prizes. So there are some prizes for teachers. There's some student rewards. Everybody's going to get certificates and badges. but they have other things such as a game changer, a master storyteller, a code boss award, AI innovator, and a learning legend award. So lots of fun, lots of incentives, and many possibilities. So if you need inspiration, you can go to the site to check it out. But just take the advice from us here today and people that joined in. We thank you, and I'm excited to see what people create and share. So thank you, Michael, Jaime, and Deann, for joining me, and thank you to Delightex for this awesome opportunity to boost engagement, not just for students, but for educators at the end of the year as well. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.